For anyone who's wondering, when I was younger, I grew up around many cultures, many different ethnicities, but Russian was not one of them. So I did not have many experiences dealing with Russian people. The only thing I really knew about Russians was what I saw from TV and the media. So for example, Russians wrestling bears, Russians in action movies drinking a ton of vodka and saying Mother Russia, and then a lot of guys who try to meet Russian women online, and then what happens is the girls usually end up scamming them and taking all their money. That's pretty much all I really knew. So again, when going to Russia, I didn't have any expectations really. And this is what I'm going to touch on in the video. Now, a few quick disclaimers. One, I mainly went to the two major cities, Moscow and St. Petersburg. And two, I didn't stay there that long due to the visa situation, which I'll touch on in a second. But this is going to be a very surface level video based off spending a short amount of time in two of the biggest cities in the country. So at any point in time, if I say Russia's like this or Russia was like that, keep in mind I'm referring to Moscow and St. Petersburg. Now, real quick, let's touch on the visa situation. According to the embassy, Americans are able to get a 3-year visa to Russia. The problem I had was when the embassy contacted me back saying I can't get a 3-year visa, only 90 days. I reapplied and then the visa came back only for 3 weeks. Basically, the visa came back for the amount of days that I put on the application, which was news to me. Normally when I apply for a visa, even if I'm only planning to stay a week or two, if the visa is for 90 days, I'm usually approved for the full 90 days. I thought this would be the same for Russia, but it wasn't the case. So for anyone watching, if you plan to stay in the country for 2 weeks, I would add maybe an extra week. So put 3 weeks down on the form or a full month, just in case you want to stay longer. But with that out of the way, let's get into some of the other things I learned while I was in the country. When I got to Russia and went through passport control and got out into the streets, I was kind of shocked to see what I saw. And if you're thinking, Sly, what did you see? Well, I saw people wearing jackets and sweaters and beanies. Based off what I saw online, I thought 50 and 60 degree weather, Fahrenheit, would be summertime for the people here. Because I've seen videos of Russians in the snow with their shirt off, swimming in the Arctic Ocean, making snow angels with bikinis. I've heard that people here live in areas that can get to below freezing temperatures. In 50 degree weather, I thought people would be walking around in tank tops, mini skirts, flip-flops. I thought I would be the only one with the jacket, but nope, that wasn't the case. So this is why you need to be careful with stereotypes. For anyone wondering, Russians aren't immune to the cold. Next on the list is the food. Before coming, I thought the cuisine here would be similar to what caveman ate back in the day, basically meat and potatoes, and then throw in some vodka. But I was pleasantly surprised. The food was better than I expected. The juices are delicious. They have something called, what is it called? It's orange. And sea buckthorn. I've never heard of that in my life until I got to Russia. But it's sea buckthorn. It's not orange. Well, the color is orange, but it's not an orange fruit. It's something else. I don't even know. Something from the sea. But it tastes amazing. Their berry juices are top notch. Also, the stroganoff was, it was so good. I don't know if stroganoff is good in and of itself or if it was because of the restaurant I went to. Because I went to a fancy one. The full meal was like $40. I ordered some shots too, but again, $40 in total. So I don't know if it was just because the restaurant made it very well. It also took super long to come, so maybe they made it from scratch. I don't know. But the stroganoff I had for the first time was delicious. And then they have a ton of soups and also the bread with the fish paste. Those were my favorite meals. The stroganoff, the soups, bread, fish paste, and the cherry drinks. And then also the nalivka, the sweet vodka shots. Oh, man. But again, Russian food was a lot better than I expected because normally when I travel, I'll see, as far as foreign food in the country, I'll see Korean, Thai, Ethiopian. You'll see some American spots, Mexican, Italian, and French. Those are two you'll always see. But Russian, I don't see it a lot. So I didn't think too much of Russian food. Just keep in mind, though, as an American watching, you're going to get some small portions. The first time it happened, I was thinking to myself, damn, Why are you cheating me because I'm a tourist, man? Is that what it is? But as I kept going to different restaurants, it was the same thing. The portion sizes are a lot smaller. And from what I was told, it's like that so you can order different dishes, soups, the dumplings, the salads. They're supposed to be small so you have different meals to try, not just one big one. So just something to keep in mind. Next up on the list are payments in Russia. Now, for the majority of people in the world, I think your bank cards aren't going to work in Russia unless you're from countries like Kazakhstan, Turkey, China, places that still have a very good relationship with Russia. But apart from that, yeah, your bank cards aren't going to work. And you might think that, well, that means when I get to Russia, I'm just going to be using cash most of the time, which you can do. However, when you get there, you'll realize for the most part, it's a cashless society. What I did was I applied for a bank card, which foreigners can do. I was able to just tap and pay wherever I went. You're able to pay even small vendors using your card or just sending money to their phone number. I think it's similar to Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, etc., etc. Honestly, I didn't really think that was the case. Because of all the sanctions, because of what I heard about, at least compared to other European countries, Russia being poor, I assumed that when I got here, it was going to be a cash-based society. Also, Bitcoin is, I think it's legal tender in Russia. You're able to use it to pay for things. I know that there were some exchange shops I wanted to go to, but it was only for Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure that was the case. Just a few more on the list. One of them is the fact that your GPS application might not work that great. And what I mean is it might not give your exact location. So sometimes I'll be on the street and when I open up my GPS on my phone, it'll say I'm 3 streets down or 4 streets down. And then as I started walking, sometimes it would say I'm going the wrong way or the opposite way. And I quickly realized that this was on purpose. A similar situation happened to me in Lebanon. And I believe the reason why this happened in both of the countries is because both of them are in conflicts, are in war. So I guess the satellite or the GPS systems are scattered, probably to conceal certain people, certain objects, certain buildings, which is why many times I would just ask people for directions on the street, which sort of leads me into my next point. And that's the helpfulness of the people. So I started off earlier talking about how I didn't interact with many Russians. But honestly, I did hear about Russians being cold and not friendly. I can kind of see where that comes from. Walking around, remember, in the major cities, it seems like the culture, people are very direct, blunt, kind of straight to the point. Now, obviously, there are rude people everywhere in the world, but out of all the rude people I met, the rudest ones were in Russia that I encountered. Like, there were some people I wanted to choke. That being said, the majority of people I encountered were very helpful and very friendly, especially the first day I got here. I mean, first impression is key, and the first impression I had of the people was great. When I first touched down, I needed to exchange currency badly. And when I went to an exchange shop, the person in front of me spoke to the cashier for me without me asking. He just turned around and said, "Hey, you want to exchange?" I said, "Yes." And he just started talking to the person. And then he explained to me, "Hey, she's going to exchange for you. I'm supposed to be the last person, but don't worry, she's going to help you." And again, I didn't even ask him. He just looked out for me. That same day, when I went to the metro, I couldn't get a metro card. So a Russian couple paid for me. Then they took me to the exact metro I needed to get home. So we had to get on one metro, transfer, and then get on another one. And they took me the whole way. And then once I got out of the metro, another couple helped me because the GPS wasn't working right. They walked me to my apartment. This was late at night, around 11:30 p.m. It was a man and woman and they had a baby. So they went out of their way to walk me to my destination. And at the same time, they're giving me tips about places to eat, where to go. And also let me point out that those rude people I met were in Moscow. When I got to St. Petersburg, and the vibe was a little different, maybe because it's a smaller city compared to Moscow, and also maybe because it came across a little hippie. I also spoke to some Russians and they said, hey, when you get to the smaller towns, smaller cities, people are going to be friendlier, which I think that's globally. Most people in the U.S. aren't like New Yorkers. Most people in England aren't like Londoners. Lastly, I'm an introvert and I'm sort of a reserved person. So going to a country with a more reserved or quote unquote colder culture doesn't really bother me much because I'm kind of like that too as well. And last but not least, this point is going to be for the fellas listening. So if you're a lady, please exit stage left, aka please leave. if you are going to stay because you're nosy, just don't comment, slide on why you such a misogynist or you're so shallow and things like that. Please don't do that. But seriously, to the guys listening, let me say that I've heard about how guys get tricked by basically women around the world, but specifically when it comes to Europe, I think Russian women are stereotyped for fleecing and scamming a lot of dudes out of their money. And after visiting Russia and walking around, I can kind of see why. When I'm on the streets, I'm like, okay, okay. So I talked about this in a previous video, and that's if there's a guy that you know that's online talking to a quote unquote Russian lady, even though in your head, you know, he's probably getting scammed and tricked, just take it easy on them, because again, once you come to Russia and you see some of them out here, you're kind of like, I understand. He's only human. He's only human. As men, we're human. We fall victim to certain things. But I have not been to all of Europe. I still have to visit, places like Poland, Sweden, Romania, Spain. However, I'm pushing all of my chips in. When it comes to the ladies, even without having been to those other countries, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give these the ladies here the dub when it comes to Europe. But with all that being said, I appreciate you all watching the video. Russia was definitely a culture shock. I'm glad I came. I'm glad I put 3 weeks on my visa, because if I would have put 1 week, I would have been screwed. Everything happens for a reason. Either way, again, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be looking out for more from Eastern Europe. I'm gonna try to stay here the whole summer and explore around. That being said, I'm gonna catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.